I think that's a better strategy than paying taxes would be redeploy all your capital, put it into some replacement properties. Then you come back after you close on your property and you can do a refinance after closing. And by the way, there's no holding period. You don't have to season it for a period of time. So I could close today and I could come back next week and then do my refinance and pull my cash out, which you mentioned, Ron, it's tax free. That's one of the huge benefits of real estate, right? Is you can equity harvest, pull that cash out, right? And you could use it for redeploying into other property or whatever you want. But that's a great strategy you brought up. I think that's something a lot of people are not aware of is out there.
Yeah. What are some of the other strategies that people listening may have not heard of? Because I only know a handful, and I'm sure there's more that I don't know. So
there are a whole bunch. So the number one strategy is what's called the delayed exchange. That's the one we touched upon. So I sell, I get a qualified intermediary in place prior to closing. The money goes to the qualified intermediary in their own account. Then I've got 45 calendar days. So it ends at midnight of the 45th day to identify. That, by the way, is set in stone. There's no flexibility. There's a little wiggle room if you have, let's say, a presidentially declared disaster area. So we had the recent fire last week in Colorado that was pretty big.
Yeah.
That was a disaster area. You know, the events that we had with all the tornadoes a few weeks back, another one. But you have to have property or your tax records in an affected county for that to apply. So for the most part, even though there's a little narrow exception, you got that 45-day window, then you have 180 days. That's what most people are going to take advantage of. But, you know, a neat opportunity, Heather, is bouncing back and forth between, you know, if you look at a home, people have different opportunities available to home. They can have an asset. Let's say I'm in La Jolla, California, and I bought it 20 years ago for 800 grand. Today it's worth 5 million. I can move out of that property and make it a rental, rent it out for a year or two. And when I sell it, I get the section 121 primary residence exclusion because I lived in it 2 out of 5 years. Then I take all my equity from that and I go buy a whole bunch of investment properties. So I really convert the equity in my home into cash flow, right? Investment income. And I get the benefit of the primary residence tax exclusion. So I think that's a really interesting way to approach it. And likewise, you can flip it around. I could do a 1031 exchange into a nice golf course property down in Phoenix, intend to rent it out for a couple of years, and then change my mind and say, you know what I like to do is make that a second home down there in Phoenix because I want to golf. So you can bounce back and forth between it being a residence and being an investment property. You got a lot of flexibility there, a lot of different options.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, another one.
What other? Yeah.
Well, don't get me too excited about this because there are all these things. One thing, you know, Ron mentioned something really important, which was talking about real estate and real property. So, with the tax reform we had with Trump administration, they eliminated personal property exchanges. So it's got to be real property or real estate. But when we talk about that, real estate is so broad. There's so many things you can do. We do exchanges of easements. We did a conservation easement up near Boulder for about $8 million, and they went into apartment buildings, you know, that commercial property. You can do agricultural easements. You can do a cell tower, what's known as a perpetual communication easement. So if you have a cell tower on your building or your ranch, you can create a perpetual communication easement, keep the property, but do the exchange out of that cell tower or that perpetual easement. Vacation homes qualify. So a lot of people don't know. So if you've got just a second home at Tahoe that you never rent out, that's not going to work. But if I have a vacation home that's held for investment, we got some guidance from the IRS way back in 2008, and I call it the rule of twos. Super easy to remember. You got to hold it for 2 years, rent it for 2 weeks in each of those years, and keep your personal use under 2 weeks. And then after 2 years are up, you can do whatever you want. So you guys see what's happening now in the vacation markets, right? You know, I mean, look around. Yeah. Park City, where you guys are in Utah, Park City, everywhere in Colorado, everywhere around the country. It doesn't matter. Golf course properties, it could be Florida on the coast. You can exchange into this hold it for a couple of years, follow that revenue procedure, and then make it a legitimate second home, and you've deferred taxes. So I think that's kind of a fun lifestyle play for those that have maybe acquired a lot of assets and they maybe aren't looking to maximize their yield, but maybe provide a place for the family to hang out, on vacations. They can do that with the 1031.